Have you ever noticed a strange pattern in your cycle? Maybe some light spotting, unexpected bleeding, or something that just feels off. Then you wonder, what's going on here? Can this be normal? Is it my body trying to tell me something important about my fertility? Hello and welcome to Fertility and Wholeness, the podcast where we empower you to understand your body and optimize your fertility. I'm Mariana, and today on the show, we're asking, what does initial bleeding really mean for your fertility? It is a question every woman deserves to understand because unusual bleeding isn't just a random inconvenience. It is a biomarker that can hold key insights into your health and fertility. And today, we're breaking it down step by step so you leave this episode feeling informed, confident, and ready to take charge of your journey. That's coming up next. Welcome to Fertility and Wholeness Podcast. Are you tired of seeing that test be negative month after month? Will you ever stop having to take test after test? Are you scared of all the medical terminology, office visits, and misinformation you see at every turn on your infertility journey? If you answer yes to any of those, you're not alone. You are at the right place. I'm so happy you're here with us. My name is Ariana. I'm a fertility care practitioner and a wholeness coach with over a decade of experience on the field. I created this podcast because I know what it is to feel alone and lost while navigating fertility problems. And after helping hundreds of women, teaching them how to not protract their cycles, boost their fertility, and navigate their monthly emotional roller coaster and get pregnant naturally, I am on a mission to empower women to take charge of their fertility journey. In this podcast, you will find heartfelt conversations, education, tips on how to take care of and understand your fertility, emotional support, simple lifestyle changes to boost your fertility, nutrition, self-care routines, tips for handling stress and anxiety with ease. We have amazing, exciting expert interviews and guests, inspirational stories, and practical advice on preparing for pregnancy and joyful delivery. Are you ready to reclaim your health, your life, and become pregnant naturally? If so, grab your green juice and prenatal vitamins. This episode is just what the doctor ordered. Hello and welcome to Fertility and Wholeness Podcast, the podcast where we explore the intersection of health, fertility, and wholeness. I'm Mariana, and today's episode is for anyone who's been watching their cycle, counting the days and wondering, am I running out of time? Is my body working the way that it should? Picture this. You're watching your biological clock tick, tick, tick. You've been trying to get pregnant or thinking about starting the journey, but something feels off. Maybe your cycles aren't as predictable as they used to be. Maybe you have noticed spotting or strange patterns of bleeding. And now you're asking yourself, what does this mean for my fertility? Is my body trying to tell me something? Today we're asking, what does initial bleeding tell us about fertility and why you should do if you notice it? This is the kind of knowledge that every woman has a right to know. We are here to give you the tools to better understand your body and feel empowered to take the next steps in your fertility journey. I have been where you are. In episode 2, I shared how unusual bleeding was the first thing that made me realize something wasn't right with my body. For months, I was prescribed a birth control pill to fix the problem, but it only masked the symptoms. I felt like I was in a monthly race trying to figure out what was wrong with no clear answers. It wasn't until I learned to chart my cycles and I started working with a fertility care practitioner that I began to understand what my body was trying to tell me. That journey changed everything for me, and that's why I'm here today to help you see unusual bleeding not as a problem, but as a powerful clue that can guide you toward better health and fertility. I want to start by saying this. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already doing something amazing. You're taking ownership of your health and your fertility. You're asking the hard questions, and that's where all great journeys begin, with curiosity. You're not alone. So many women in your shoes, watching the clock, hoping for the positive pregnancy test, find themselves wondering if their cycles are helping or hurting their chances of conceiving. And when they notice bleeding that doesn't seem normal, it is easy to feel frustrated, scared, or just plain confused. Let's start with the basics. To understand unusual bleeding, we need to know what a healthy normal menstrual cycle looks like. Normal menstruation is directly tied to ovulation. When you ovulate, your body produces progesterone, a key hormone that stabilizes the uterine lining and prepares your body for pregnancy. If you don't get pregnant, progesterone levels drop, and that triggers your period. The bleeding pattern of normal period is predictable, and it follows what we call crescendo decrescendo pattern. It starts light, gets heavier, and then tapers off again. So light, heavy, moderate, light, very light. Why is this important? Because this kind of bleeding is a sign that ovulation has occurred. Something every woman trying to conceive needs to pay attention to. So, if you're paying attention to your cycle and you notice this wave-like pattern, it is a good sign that your body's ovulating. It is like a green light telling you you're on the right track. But what happens if your bleeding doesn't follow this pattern? Here's where things get tricky and important. Unusual bleeding can be your body's way of signaling that something isn't quite right. Maybe it's hormonal, or maybe it's a sign of underlying condition. Either way, paying attention to the signs can help you get to the root of the problem and improve your chances of conceiving. What is unusual bleeding? It is often light or brown, black in color. It doesn't follow the crescendo pattern and it stays consistent day to day. It may show up in the mid-cycle, at the tail end of your period, or other unexpected times. But why does it happen? One is a hormonal cause. It's ovulatory bleeding. This can happen around ovulation due to shifts in estrogen levels. Estrogen breakthrough bleeding occurs just before ovulation. Estrogen withdrawal bleeding occurs shortly after ovulation within a few days. Another hormonal cause is seen when women with long irregular cycles, like those with polycystic ovarian syndrome or PCOS. In these cases, spotting or unusual bleeding is often light, very light or brown, and it's usually tied to hormonal imbalances. But what else could it be? Not all unusual bleeding is hormonal. Sometimes it is caused by physical issues within your reproductive system. These are called organic causes, and they include things like chronic cervicitis, which means inflammation of the cervix, endometriosis, where the uterine tissue grows outside of the uterus, endometrial polyps. These are small growths in the uterine lining. Adenomyosis. This is when the uterine lining grows into the muscle wall. So have you been noticing patterns like postmenstrual brown bleeding, what we call the tail end brown bleeding, or premenstrual spotting? It is worth digging deeper. This can sometimes be clues to an underlying conditions that may impact your fertility. So what you should do if this sounds like you. Here's the good news. You don't have to figure it out all on your own. First, start paying attention to your cycles, and tools like the Creighton Model or other fertility awareness methods can help you to track your bleeding patterns, ovulation, and other symptoms. Second, reach out to your doctor. They can help you identify and determine whether the bleeding is normal or unusual. And finally, don't be afraid to ask questions. If you suspect something is off, advocate for yourself and your health. This isn't just about identifying problems, it's about finding solutions. By understanding your cycle, you're not only improving your chances of conceiving, but also taking a big step towards better health overall. And that is something that every woman deserves. Before we wrap up, I want to come back to the heart of this podcast. The belief that every woman has the right to understand and care for her fertility. Optimizing your fertility isn't just about tracking ovulation or timing things perfectly. It's about knowing your body, understand the signs that it's giving you, and feeling confident in the steps that you're taking. So many women feel like they're running out of time, caught in the cycle of frustration and uncertainty. But knowledge is power. The more that you understand about your body, the more control you have to make informed decisions. And that's what this journey is all about. Your fertility is part of your overall health and well being. By listening to your body and responding with intention, you're not just preparing for the possibility of pregnancy, you're embracing a wholeness that touches every aspect of your life. Thank you for joining me today. If you've been noticing unusual bleeding or if you're feeling unsure about your cycle, take this as your sign to dig deeper. Start charting, seek support, and don't settle for confusion or uncertainty. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're here to help, one question at a time. Until next time, take care of yourself and your fertility.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, we got a special treat for you. Join our free Facebook group where you can connect with other amazing women and share your thoughts. Join us by clicking in the link in the show notes. We can't wait to welcome you into our supportive community. And don't forget to come back for our next episode, where we'll be sharing even more inspiring stories, encouraging tips, educational insights, and practical strategies. Oh, and before you go, we have a tiny favor to ask. If you found today's episode uplifting and helpful, please leave us a review. It's like giving us a virtual hug, and it helps other amazing women like you find our show. Plus, it makes us smile from ear to ear. And hey, why stop there? Share the love. Tell your besties, your mom, your sister, and even your favorite barista about our podcast. The more, the merrier.